Mr. President.
Senator from Washington.
Mr. President, there are two simple truths here. One, there's absolutely no reason for a shutdown. 5 of the bills before us, covering 95% of the remaining budget, everyone agrees we can pass. And 2, after the horrific killing of Alex Preddy last weekend, after so many vile, shameless lies from Trump officials, and after the flagrant abuses we have seen from ICE and CBP agents, it is painfully and brutally clear this out-of-control department must be reined in, and Congress must take action to make that happen. What we have seen happening in Minnesota and all across the country is simply un-American. Trump and Nome sent ICE and Border Patrol into Minneapolis not on a targeted mission to retrieve actual criminals, but to go door to door, terrorizing communities and asking to see the papers of anyone who doesn't fit their idea of what an American looks like. Secretary Nome and her masked agents are haphazardly dragging off people with no criminal record, people who are here legally, people who are citizens, and of course, they are even dragging off children. No one has to take my word for it. We all saw them march a man, a citizen, out of his house in the freezing cold in nothing but his underwear. We all saw them cart away a 5-year-old with his Spider-Man backpack and a bunny hat on. And when people protested peacefully, the Trump administration cracked down with a level of force as brutal as it was unjustified. Again, no one needs to take my word for it. We all heard about the family who had their car tear-gassed on the way back from a basketball game, and their baby stopped breathing and needed emergency care. We all watched the woman who was dragged out of her car on the way to a doctor's appointment. We all saw that unforgettable photo of an unarmed man pinned on the ground with one of Trump's federal officers pepper spraying him directly in the face. We all bore witness to the murder of Renee Good. And then, last weekend, we all saw the horrific killing of Alex Preddy, a lawful observer exercising his rights, murdered in cold blood by federal agents. And how did Trump's team respond? They lied about what we all saw with our own eyes. They slandered Alex as a domestic terrorist. This man was a VA nurse. He was beloved by his patients. They falsely claimed that he wanted to massacre law enforcement when he was simply exercising his constitutional First Amendment rights. They said he attacked law enforcement when he was only helping a woman who law enforcement had assaulted. They said he brandished a gun when he never touched it. In fact, he was already disarmed when they shot him in the back. And yet, right now, the only department they will let investigate this tragedy is the department that was responsible for it. That cannot be how things work in this country. Not if we're going to keep the democracy that we all cherish. We need real, independent investigation. We need real accountability. And we need real reforms. And until that happens, until we begin reining in this out-of-control department, we cannot pass the DHS bill as it stands. The DHS bill needs to be split off from this larger package. And that needs to happen so we can prevent other parts of the government from shutting down while we work to reform the DHS bill. Now, I want to be straight with everyone. Not passing the Homeland bill will not stop ICE right now. Why? Because Republicans already gave ICE tens of billions of dollars without a single Democratic vote when they passed their big, ugly bill. As the junior senator from Kentucky has pointed out, even without the DHS bill, ICE will have many times its annual budget because of the bill that the Republicans passed last summer. But splitting off the Homeland bill does ensure that Congress is forced to reckon with this issue. It does give us the opportunity to take much-needed action to protect Americans from this out-of-control department. And to be clear, this is not just what Democrats are demanding, it is what the vast majority of Americans are demanding. People in this country, Mr. President, are absolutely horrified. They are outraged that our government is gunning down U.S. citizens on the street with impunity. And this just cannot continue. And with each hour that goes by, we are seeing more and more Republicans agree that the status quo is unacceptable, that there must be change, and that Congress must do something. We, Congress, must do something. And there's a very reasonable and straightforward path here now. There is a legislative package of 6 funding bills at the desk right now, right up here. 5 of the funding bills in this package will all overwhelmingly agree on. We all agree on cancer research. We all agree on child care funding. We all agree on funding roads and bridges and housing. We agree on paying our troops and supporting small businesses and so much else that is in those bills. And by the way, the House, in fact, passed those 5 bills overwhelmingly. So let's just remove Homeland Security, pass the remaining 5 bills without delay. There is no reason to wait, and we can get to work right away to negotiate a Homeland bill that includes the reforms and accountability everyone knows is needed. I'm here, I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work with Chair Collins and our colleagues to craft a bill with serious oversight and accountability so we can simply rein in the abuses that we're seeing. But if Republicans refuse to work with us on DHS and refuse to put up the remaining 5 bills for a vote in the meantime, they will be choosing to shut down the government across all of the agencies impacted, cutting off funding for life-saving clinical trials and paychecks for our troops and our air traffic controllers, and as we all know, much more. We should not let that happen. So, Mr. President, let's pass the 5 bills ahead of the Friday deadline. Let's focus separately on DHS, where it is clear that accountability and reform cannot wait. We do this all the time, move forward on the areas where we have an agreement and keep negotiating on the other. That is what needs to happen here and now. And look, if the House has to come back to prevent a shutdown, so be it. That's part of the job they have. Back in 2018, after the Senate cleared a spending bill, and we went home for the holidays, President Trump did a 180 and had the House change the bill and send it back to us. You know what we did? We came back and we voted. That's it. That's our job. That's what the House can do. So there is no need for a shutdown. There is no need for a delay. And there is every need for serious reforms. Let's get it done. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.